Hopefully that one is good enough for Dino back there. Welcome, everybody, to All Access Pass. I'm your cruise host, Jason. Second to last one of the cruise, and what a great one it is today. Last night, we're running this, so 2 nights ago for those of you watching on TV, and last night for those of you live in the studio audience, you got to see this man absolutely come out and blow that stage apart. He is the longtime frontman lead singer for the band Chicago. Put your hands together for the one and only Mr. Jason Scheff.
Look at all these people.
All these people had an island to be on, and they chose to come running back from paradise to chat with you. First and foremost, thanks for coming up and doing this. We do appreciate it. And secondly, what was it like last night hitting the stage with your phenomenal band and performing in front of all of these and plus some amazing folks out there?
It was amazing. I see a lot of familiar faces. Some friends of mine I've made over the years, and then all these new friends that I've made on the cruise here. But just the warmest welcome, and what a beautiful theater you have there too.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
You made a comment while we were sitting backstage that at the top of your show or midway through your show, you looked off stage left into the balcony there. Who'd you see, and what did that mean to you? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, I looked up, and there was Michelle Rundgren, who was waving to me. And I said, oh, and then all of a sudden, there's Todd sitting next to her. And it was such a beautiful moment for me, because I just finished doing a bunch of these dates with Todd, the White Album tour, performing the Beatles' White Album. Some of you have been out there to see that, yes. I see the new friends, the familiar new faces. And it just occurred to me that, all of us, especially coming together that have had these careers, there comes a moment where you're looking up, and I grew up with this music in my life, 70s, and there's Todd Rundgren, who's now my friend, and he's there to listen and see my concert, and he stayed the whole time. I was telling my son this. I said, "Is that cool or what?" That yes, I am a huge fan of his work, but that's my pal up there, so I love it.
That's very cool. That's very, very cool. We were just chatting about it backstage. It's one of the cool things about this cruise is it's not, granted you just came off a tour, so it's kind of doesn't resonate as perfectly with you because you just got off a tour with a bunch of big stars. But in general, it's not every day you get to perform somewhere where all of your peers are legends and all the people around you are these rock and roll and musical gods, if you will. Mm-hmm. And it's cool to see all of you be fans of each other. There's not a lot of snobbery. There's not a lot of looking down your nose or not going to the other person's show. It's fun to see you guys actually fan for each other.
Yeah, it's like the Champions Golf Tour. Yeah. That they used to call the what did they call it? They called it the Seniors Tour.
Seniors Tour, yeah.
Yeah, so when you're out on the PGA Tour, everybody's like cutthroat, and they're and all of a sudden you're relaxed once you've done things and you've achieved these things. You go, okay, I can relax now and be around my friends. And yeah, when I saw the lineup for this cruise, I was so excited because there's so many of my friends on this. Ambrosia, Pablo Cruz, America. I didn't get to see Jerry and Dewey because they were on the first half of the cruise, but then all the rest of them. When we checked into the hotel, or actually we're leaving to board the ship, it was the coolest thing. Not only was I able to see a lot of friends that I hadn't seen in a while, but there were guys in the crew of these bands that had done monitors for us. Absolutely. In Chicago. It was the coolest thing.
And I think also it's as everyone introduces their band, and I know all of our looking around the live studio audience, right? When each artist is talking about who's in their band, it's a who's who of who they've. I mean, the list of they fronted so and so, and they were the guitarist for so and so, and this was the keyboard for so and so, and now they're in your band. Every band is like that, though. Every band has these monster musicians behind them, which I'm sure you know them as well. So it's,
yes.
To your point of having friends, it's cool to see them, not just the stars,
Yeah, the guys in Felder's band, I've known Timothy, Drury from the first year I was with Chicago, and it's just, wow. Hey, we live to tell, huh?
Yeah, we made it.
We live to tell, yeah.
So if you don't mind, a couple of quick things. First and foremost, I want to say something that I said to you last night, and I mean this wholeheartedly, and I don't often get to say this. You're the anti-celebrity. You are, and what I mean by that is there is a humble nature here, and there is a desire to be approachable. There is a desire to be seen. There's a desire to be, shaking hands and say hello. And I'm not knocking any of the celebrities. Everyone has their own reasons and rights, and I'm certainly not taking away from any stars. But it's so nice to see someone who embraces what they are, embraces what the fans have helped them become to a certain extent, and give back. You are the anti-celebrity in that way, and it's truly refreshing.
Well, first of all, it's not anti-celebrity. It's auntie-celebrity.
Auntie, all right. Auntie-celebrity.
Auntie-celebrity.
Yeah.
But thank you. There's a quick story. When I was on my first tour with Chicago, I was in Columbia, Maryland, and I was walking down the hallway of the hotel, and this kid was at the other end, and he sees me, and he stops dead in his tracks. And I'm going, wow, that's kind of weird. And the next thing I know, he's kind of like walking to me, and he says, Jason Scheff. And it was the first time I'd heard my name spoken like that somebody thought that this was
with reverence,
whatever you want to say, a celebrity, a star, whatever. And I immediately wanted to disarm that. So I walked up to him and I saw that he was super nervous, and I wouldn't rest until this guy started kind of calming down and seeing that I was just and he's become a friend of mine. He's a great Nashville songwriter, and I've done some songwriters in the rounds with him. And I love telling that story and just embarrass him so much. Your palms were so sweaty, man. He goes, come on, don't talk about that anymore.
Yeah, don't do that to me.
But it was just something that I always felt, and people they kind of wonder, well, what does it take to for longevity in this? Yeah. And I think you have to deliver what it is that you're out there to do, music, but I think a lot of it too is, for me at least, and it's not a stretch. People here that know me, I love people, and I don't. Yeah. I'm not putting it on. So
you said it comes from your parents.
I think so. Yeah, they're both very warm people and love folks. So
that's wonderful. I people appreciate it. I mean.
So I'm telling you, just come up anytime I'm eating and bother me and interrupt me. You guys know it's cool already. Like you said, you get it over with, like in the first day, right?
Well, we were talking about, we were chatting about this.
It's true.
We have stars of every level on our different cruises, and some of them, it's a supply and demand issue is what it comes down to, for lack of better terms. The more you supply, the demand decreases. Not the demand to say hi, but the demand to really interrupt and touch. You see Jason walking around the first night, and it's Jason Scheff. By the second night, it's, hey, Jason, how you doing, man? As you walk on by, right? There's a little bit of that familiarity. And some stars hide inside, and then when they come out, the supply has been so low that the demand is insane, and they get pounced on. And we try to encourage everyone every time, just walk around the first night. Get it over with, man. Just walk around the first night.
It's true.
Take a few pictures, say hi, shake a few hands, and then by night 2, right, it's just that, hey, there's Jason Scheff. How you doing, buddy? Good, man. Enjoy your day.
And by night 3, it's, who's Jason Scheff?
Yeah.
Get me a young Jason Scheff. Yeah.
By night 3, it's, you're in the way of the French fries. Could you move, sir? I'm trying to get could you just to the left, please?
Well, what was it last night that somebody, the monitor guy that I have, which is Todd's crew, is awesome. I was able to get his front of house guy and monitor mixer, and he comes up after the show, and we were all pumped up last night, and he puts his hand out, and I think that he's, so I reached to shake his hand. He goes, no, I'm looking for your belt pack that you're.
I'm Jason Scheff. Yeah. Give me your belt packs, guy.
Yeah. Can you autograph this for me? No, this is the bill for the pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let me get your signature on this. Sure, man. Who do I make it out to? Papa Murphy's. I don't know. Just fill it out. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So take us back a few years. we're going to go back to the beginning, just a little bit here, if you don't mind. What
Sure.
makes you want to be in the music industry? What makes you think this is something you even want to pursue?
Well, I started playing piano probably around 6 years old, and I come from a broken home, which a lot of us do and did. And it was the thing that showed me that everything was going to be okay. Music is really just a magic elixir, and it's such an amazing thing that just doesn't have really. You don't even necessarily have to have a language, English, Spanish, attached to it. Just the sound of music is a healer.
It's universal.
It absolutely is. And so when I discovered piano, and it was pretty natural for me, I saw that it made people feel good and happy. And so I started playing with my neighbor up the street, and we do duets, and started getting into Elton John, and so my father. I think I mentioned it last night. My father is one of the greatest bass players that ever lived. He was Elvis Presley's bass player all through the Vegas years. And played on a lot of great hit records. L.A. Woman, The Doors is my father. Don't you love her madly, and Riders on the Storm. So it was there. It was in our blood.
A little bit of lineage there.
Yeah. And my mother played piano and sang. And so by the time I was 14, I joined her band. And that's when I really knew, because she took me on the road against some of her friends' better judgment, saying, you can't take him out of school. But she saw something in me. And that confidence really let me know. I was telling my son, who's here with me tonight, that it was an amazing thing. I was up in this club in Twin Falls, Idaho. I was 14 years old. And I'd been playing bass about 6 months, and we finished playing one night, and this guy he came up to me at the end of the night, and he goes, how old are you, man? And I said, I'm 14. And he said, tell you what, by the time you're 18, ain't nobody going to be able to touch you. And that meant everything to me. And I thought, man, so I just, I think at that point, and I tell this to other kids that are coming up, or anybody who's struggling with, what am I going to do with my life? Or maybe if we're older and we haven't really found our niche, that you beat yourself up over it, or making choices that maybe didn't seem like the right things at the time. But you find that thing that is the northern star that's always going to keep you from really just going off the rails. So that's what music did for me, and my mom was very instrumental in it.
And is that something you have instilled and passed on to your son, I would assume?
Absolutely. Well, the funny thing is, Maurice, the sax player in what were they? The Badass Brass Band.
Badass Brass Band.
We were talking about it last night, of how parents will come up and say, how can I motivate my kid to play music? And I said, nobody had to motivate me. I think it's, it's either in them or not.
They want to, or they don't want to. Don't force it.
I think so. I mean, if you see something, you want to nurture it. But both my kids, I never really had to push them. My 21-year-old just got signed to Interscope Records, and he's done
Congratulations.
And he's done it all on his own. He did not ask for anything from me. And then my younger son, who's here with me, is just so talented. He's going to be playing with him, and he's out here with me. And I don't push them. And for a while, my son Connor kind of put it down for a minute. He'd kind of toy with it, but he came back to it. You don't push him. So, yeah.
So tell us about the transition from you're growing up, you're figuring it out, you're starting to rock. How does Chicago happen?
What an incredible story. My mother pounded on me to sing. So I joined her band at 14. And she's going, you got to sing, Jason. I go, I don't want to sing. That's for sissies. I want to be cool and tough. And my problem, which ended up being a good thing, is I'm a tenor voice, so I'm not cool and tough and manly and down here. And so, whenever I'd try and sing, it would not sound like I wanted it to sound, and so I avoided it. I'd sing a song or two because I wanted to work, and she said, well, you have to sing. And then I joined a band in San Diego when I was 16, and I replaced an iconic bass player named Nathan East. And in the band, the band leader said, do you sing? And I said, no. He said, well, you have to sing because Nathan sang. I go, well, okay, I'll give it a shot. He goes, well, what do you want to try? And I did something that again, I like to pass on to up-and-comers. that I didn't know to limit myself. And so I'm looking at his set list, and he goes, "What do you want to try?" And I go, "Well, this song sounds kind of good. How about Just the Way You Are? Don't go changing to try and please me. You never let me down before." I mean, the most rangy song, right? Right? And so I hacked through it, and I guess he saw some potential. And I started then. Still wasn't really taking it seriously, and then my mother tricked me on my 21st birthday, and she got me a vocal lesson, and it was expensive, so I couldn't blow it off. I said, okay, I gotta go. So I went to Seth Riggs, who at the time was Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, the guys in Earth, Wind and Fire, just the who's who of vocal coaches in LA. And I walked in thinking I'm going to go for my one and only lesson, and he's going to say, okay, here's another stage mother pushing their kid at me. And this guy, he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to increase my range. And he goes, well, you've come to the right place. Everybody does. I said, but I want to increase my range this way. I want to go down. I want to sound like Jeffrey Osborne, you know. And so he takes me through some exercises, and he just says, well, you're barking up the wrong tree. You're a tenor. And by the way, it's a gold mine. Listen to the radio. This is 1983. He goes, Chicago, Journey. And so I go, okay. So he said, we just need to get you up into that range, you know, where your change is, your break, comfortably. And so we started on a year and a half of solid lessons. And by the time Chicago needed somebody, what happened is I signed a publishing deal. And they got a phone call one day from Michael Austin at Warner Brothers asking, do you have any songs for Peter Cetera's solo album and or somebody to write with him? They said, yeah, we just signed this new kid. I think he's got 3 whole songs in his catalog. And
3 whole songs? Ooh,
3 entire, not almost finished.
Not partials.
3 finished songs. Not that I wrote them 100% by myself. I needed a team to help me with this. And so they sent the song over, got a phone call the next day, and the phone call went, who's singing these demos? And they said, Jason is. They go, okay, hung the phone up. My publisher calls me and says, something's going on. I don't know what it is, but I can feel it. I've been in this a long time. Something's going on. Get ready. I go, what? For what? Yeah. And she said,
do I need to leave the house now?
Yeah, yeah. She said, get ready. I go, for what? And she goes, I don't know, but just be prepared. What was happening was my tape went through the band, David Foster, Michael's father, Mo Austin, and the entire Warner Brothers record company. And I get a phone call a week later. Apparently what happened is Michael put the tape on, heard a song called Nothing's Gonna Stop Us Now, or maybe Heart of Mine that I played last night that Boz Skaggs ended up cutting. And Michael calls upstairs and says, Lenny Waronker, you got to come down here. I think maybe this is the guy we need to replace Peter in Chicago. Comes down and says, wow. So it circulated through everybody for a week. I got a phone call a week later saying, we think that you're the new lead vocalist of Chicago. How crazy is that?
And that's around the mid-'80s.
No, yes, it is. It's 85.
85, yeah.
So it was and another thing I think about is from the day I went in for that vocal lesson, I would have imagined it was maybe 3-4 years later. It was 2 years. So again, I try and stress the importance of get proper training so that you're ready and get the reps in so that you're not just caught off guard and go, hey, this is an opportunity. Because there was a part of it that I was really ready for. Some of it I wasn't, because I wasn't the guy live that you would come and say, this guy's really going places, but I could record. And luckily, we made Chicago 18 before we went out on tour, because I don't know if it would have, we had a hit first. And so then...
It helps.
Yeah, it did.
Just slightly.
Yeah.
And now, I mentioned it last night. I think it's kind of cool because you don't hear this often. I mean, obviously Peter was the original in Chicago, but 85. So that puts you as the voice of Chicago in the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, and now the 2020s. That is 5 decades of being the voice of Chicago. What does that mean to you to hear that phrase, that sentence?
It's really amazing on one hand, and it just makes sense on the other because, well, also Chicago is such an amazing group because it has many different voices and flavors.
Sure.
You know, there's several of us that have been involved, and I love that they can continue. You know, we were having a great talk about this last night, that it's like, I really consider it, in time and in the future, it already is starting to be, but it will definitely be looked at as, that body of work as one of the greatest bodies of work, along with Beethoven, Chopin, and in 100, 200 years it'll be performed, just as we go and listen to Mozart and Beethoven at the Hollywood Bowl. It's already happening. There's great cover bands out there doing it, and then there's all kinds of variations, like I'm here doing my version of it, and so it's...
Well, I mean, it's the... correct me if I'm wrong, it's the number 4 American band in Billboard chart history. I mean, it's the top American band, and it's the number 4 band, period, behind literally the Beatles, the Stones, and the Bee Gees in Billboard chart history, Chicago. And you've been that voice for 5 decades. That's pretty phenomenal, man. That's unbelievable.
Well, what's pretty neat is that the 80s are separated by 2 distinct, and the 80s were the last decade we actually made hits, real pop hits. And I always looked at myself, actually starting with replacing Nathan East in the People Movers in San Diego to start singing. Those were huge shoes to fill. Nathan went on to play with everybody. Eric Clapton, Kenny Loggins. I mean, he's one of LA's top bass players, the world's top bass players. And so when I joined Chicago, one of the main questions that I would be asked in the press was, these are big shoes to fill. What does that feel like? And I said, well, I've been training for this. I had to follow Nathan East into this band. And so Chicago, I always felt, not always, at the very beginning, I felt like, okay, I'm the replacement, and okay, I sang a big hit, Will You Still Love Me, with the band, one of the biggest hits, you know, in the band's career, yet Peter Cetera really is the gold standard, and all the music that we're performing live really is the stuff that he did. But as the 80s went on, you know, What Kind of Man Would I Be was number 5, I co-wrote that, and so that cemented me into being one of the songwriters of the biggest Chicago hits. Look Away, number 1 single. When you stacked it all up, at the end of it, the 80s are divided in half pretty equally of the chart positions and the numbers of Peter Cetera's years and mine, along with Bill Champlin. That I'm very proud of, because there are a lot of people out there that come up and say, this music means a lot to us. We were married to it, and yeah, so...
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I'm glad you can feel that.
Yeah, me too.
For lack of better terms.
Well, me too,
you know?
because I know that some people, we've talked about this, some people get numb to it, but I've never forgotten any of it.
And after being the voice of Chicago for so long, if you don't mind it, the only reason I sifted through about 50 of these cards is all of them ask the same thing. Tell us about leaving Chicago, if you don't mind, and what's the...
I don't mind at all. I'll be 58 in April, and I feel so lucky, like I said, to have been asked to join one of the greatest bands that ever existed, and it shouldn't have worked, if you think about it. I think what was probably going on when Michael Austin found my tape was that, okay, let's let Peter go do his solo record, and we'll get this kid, and we'll just get this over with and do a record. And
Cetera will be back in a couple years, and then we'll move Scheff on.
Some people, certainly record label, and I think they're probably hoping for that. You know, I don't blame them.
Well, at the time, they have to, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, no offense to you, but they have to
absolutely.
at the time.
And in fact, when I looked at my correspondence on my contract, my first contract, which was kind of like a trial contract, I was like, thinking so small, because I saw the language of, this is unbelievable, because if I crash and burn, they're still going to pay me for the year. I'm probably going to crash and burn. This is probably not going to work, because it's...
So I'm definitely going to cash checks for the year.
Yeah. But these wonderful guys brought me into their family as the future of the franchise. And particularly Robert Lamb, I knew, was fighting for me. And he was right. And I don't say that in an egoed out way, but it won, right? And, 30 solid years of never missing a show. But as we all know, life starts happening. And basically my in-laws were ill. And so I went to the guys and told them that mother-in-law's got breast cancer. She's been told that this is, hospice state, so I'm going to be going home to take care of my family. And they were so understanding and basically just said, and I was really wondering how all that was going to shake out, because in that position, to have been given this position where you are really, like I said, the future of the franchise, normally you don't leave something like that, but they completely understood. I think maybe some of it was that the experiences they'd had before me and their decisions in life, and realizing, maybe we can give this guy the opportunity to not look back and say, I wish I would have done so. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with the band, the brand, the legacy is so much bigger than any one person that everyone's going to be fine. And so again, I just can't thank these guys enough for bringing me into their family and just graciously allowing me to come and do what I needed to do in 2016.
I think that's a testament to you as well, though.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
We got a handful of questions, and I'm kind of skimming through them. I apologize. Usually I say the name and the question, but as we're chatting, I'm going through the ones that are in here we've already kind of mentioned. But Kathy from Massachusetts says, can you talk a little bit about the recent White Album tour?
Yes. That came to me. I've just finished. I was finishing up a solo record with Jay DeMarcus of Rascal Flatts, and he was looking around for some agents that might want to have me come out and do some limited shows. And he found a guy who said, you got to talk to Toby, who was the producer of the White Album tour, also Christopher Cross's manager. And he said, we're looking for a bass player who sings. And the lineup is Todd Rundgren, Mickey Dolenz, Christopher Cross, and Joey Mullen. And I said, absolutely. And it was...
Yes, please.
Yeah. And it was so nice because, again, it's that thing you're talking about of all of us coming together for things like this. On those tours, we sing like 5 songs each, so you're not responsible for the entire night, and everybody loves it. So that's how that came together. And we just had the potential for that to be weird and, okay, the back of the bus is mine, stay out of it. But we were all in the front part of the bus just laughing, and the stories were Todd and Mickey and...
Yeah, please don't share them. Please do not share them. Nope. We are all kids here. There's no room for those. Yeah.
A family show, yeah.
Yeah, somewhat. Your kid's out there somewhere, Jason.
Yes.
We don't need to. Actually, Mickey had one of the great stories of all time, and I was actually telling you this and asking you about this backstage. You've heard this story before. I asked Mickey Dolenz in an interview, I said, Mickey, how did you know when you'd made it? What was your I made it moment? And he said, I have a very specific I made it moment. He showed up at the height, they just really broken. They just started to take off. And he showed up at a mall, like a shopping mall. And he got out of the car and he walked over and he stood in front of the door, big glass doors for a moment, just stood there for a moment. And all of a sudden he looked up through the glass doors and he saw a mass of young people running at the door. And in his head, he was 100% convinced there was a fire in the mall. So he ripped the door open and started, come on, get outside, come on, and then got tackled in that.
That's so good.
Mickey's a character and then some. I'm sure that bus was full of, and Rundgren is all those guys. We've been fortunate to have all of them on our cruises, and that's a lot of personalities on one bus.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Billy from Buffalo says, what is the hardest Chicago song to play bass and sing at the same time?
Great question. That's a good, my buddy Tim here. Street play. How you doing, Jody? Yeah. Street player. I need to also say one thing really quickly. I joined Chicago, and these guys would come up to me in the first year crying, saying, you helped me get through the war. And they were Vietnam vets. And I didn't want to disappoint them and say, well, that wasn't me. I'm just the imposter here. But I thought, wow, what an incredible thing. These guys, they were literally weeping, saying, you helped me get through the war. One day, somebody who was involved in wars that were happening, I think it was Desert Storm, Tim came up to me and said, you helped me get through the war, man. And he's sitting right there. Thanks for your service and your friendship, buddy. That was an amazing moment for me.
That's powerful.
Yeah, because
that transcends,
totally.
right? I mean, it's one thing to say, "Oh my God, I made out to your CD," you know.
Yeah.
Right.
Or making out.
Or yeah. It's another thing to truly.
Exactly. Exactly. That can turn into that.
Yeah, fair enough. It's another thing to transcend that a bit and actually communicate to someone on a deeper level and help them through whatever that is. And I mean, no disrespect to Tim, whether it's helping someone through a war, helping someone through a divorce, a loss, parents, children, whatever that happens to be in life. I said on the day one of the cruise, you weren't on yet, everyone's going through something. Every single person's going through something. Yep. And music often is therapeutic. And I mean, you are that music, obviously, for people. And that's...
Well,
I hope you can hear that. I hope you can hear that.
I do. And to hear the music that you play through the systems all day is my music. I'm a 70s kid, and so hearing all the music that's going on, it's just beautiful. And then all of a sudden, then you start to see these guys, Peter Beckett, of players, my buddy, and
Rita Coolidge walks across all of a sudden. You're like, holy cow.
Absolutely.
Leslie, who comes, we asked name and where they're from, and this is Leslie. She's from Todd Squad North. And she...
Oh, yeah.
Leslie comes all the way from Todd Squad North, and Leslie asks a great segue question. Phenomenal X asks a great segue question. Great show last night. Tell me about the new CD and if you're going to tour with it.
Yes. Well, the new CD is something I started, like I said, with Jay DeMarcus of Rascal Flatts, who's a huge Chicago fan. That was another moment for me that was, okay, now you're cemented into this, not only having the legacy of those 80s hits, but you've helped spawn a generation of musicians. So I got a letter at a gig in 2003 from a kid. Hi, I'm Jay DeMarcus, and I'm in a country band called Rascal Flatts, and Chicago made me want to play music. And we started a friendship that has endured, and we're best pals. He produced Chicago 30 in 2006 or 7 or something like that. And then on the heels of that, we started a solo record because he's literally the biggest Chicago fan on the planet. So we finally finished it about, a year ago, 6 months ago. And it came out, and I've got it here. I played one song off of it, Wonderful Day, which seems to be the one that most people really say, we love that song. Thank you. And, yeah, in fact, we're looking at booking some dates. I'm starting to book some dates, actually, just with my band. Cool. And then, so we will be absolutely supporting more of that.
Very cool.
CD.
Very cool. Time for one more here, and I grabbed this one because I have a feeling I know who it's from. Tim from Chicago. When you first saw the lyrics to Here I Am, did it relate to you on a personal level? Seems to be your theme song, at least, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Because all of these things were starting to happen, in-laws getting ill, and just kind of knowing that this was going to be the end of a season. And I really wanted to, I knew that I was going to have to make the decision, the road less traveled, to be there for my wife when she was dealing with that. That's exactly right. And so that song is definitely autobiographical, and so it really resonated with me when I found it. When we were looking for songs for the record, I said, that's something I can really sink my teeth into, so I love that song.
Very cool. Well, I asked Jason beforehand, and he said he would love to sign for everybody.
Sure.
So he said he'd love to, which is very generous. So just like always, we're not going to rush the stage. We're going to allow Jason to go out and around, and he's going to meet us out there in just a moment. It's not every day you have a true legend as giving, as understanding, as kind, and as down-to-earth and humble as this man right here. Madam, I'm going to ask for you to move from the camera just a tiny bit. You're all on the camera. Watch out. You can't walk out in front of the camera. Damn it. I'm complimenting him. What was I saying? Something about your kindness and humble nature. It's not every day you have a superstar who is a superstar and at the same time is humble enough to just be another individual here in the crowd. Do me a favor. Please help me thank this wonderful individual. Put your hands together for Jason Scheff.
Thank you. Thank you.